Hiya guys, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for coming today. This is a brand new series that I'm going to be doing that's going to be about 4 episodes long. Okay, so yeah, we're going to be taking a look at EQ, compression and saturation. Yeah, we're going to be going back to the basics. That's what this is going to be called. And yeah, today we're going to be looking at EQ. But before we do, let's just go over some things that I never do in any video, which is just maybe ask you to like, comment, subscribe, and maybe even share this if you're feeling particularly lovely. Yeah, so that would be really, really appreciated. Also, I've got a new thingy that I'm doing, which is on my website. You can check down there, which is feedback for your tracks. And I believe that this is a great way to help you to grow as a musician, as a composer, as an arranger, and as a mixer. So I'll be giving you as much feedback as I possibly can on your tracks. And that's the most important thing, is that you can get only so much out of videos like this, because it's not your track that I'm EQing. It's not my track, that I'm listening to. So, what I want you to be able to do is to look at your track and hear the things that maybe you could improve and develop and act upon to become the best musician that you can possibly be. Okay, so that's enough of that. If you are interested in that, head down to the website. It's very affordable and I think that you will really benefit from it. But today we're going to be looking at EQ. Okay, so on your screen right now, you can see 2 types of EQ. So on the bottom we have a parametric equalizer, and the parametric equalizer is a visual EQ. Okay, so it's going to be showing you the frequencies that are most apparent. It's not 100% accurate, probably between 80, 90 and 100% accurate. But it gives you a really good idea about where the frequencies are that are maybe built up, and it can steer you into the right direction. It might not give you all of the answers. These give you all of the answers, not these. So that's something to keep into considering. So those are the pros and those are the cons as well. Yeah, so we can be easily swayed with our eyes with a parametric EQ. But not always. Sometimes it's very, very useful, especially if we're using it to filter out a sound. Yeah, and we do that with a high pass and a low pass filter, which we'll look at in a little while. And the other EQ that we're using is a less visual, I guess. It's more of a knobby one, a knobby EQ. Can I say that? I'm going to go with it anyway. So a less visual one. Usually they look a little bit like this. We're just going to be looking here, and usually it gives you low, mid and high. This one has tone on it as well. It's the Sheps Omni channel. It's very, very good. But what I would say this does really, really well is that it still gives you the same information, but you aren't swayed with your eyes. Okay, so it's harder to use, I think, because we can doubt ourselves a little bit more. But I think with the parametric EQ, what that does is it gives us a false sense of security. It gives you a fake understanding of what you're hearing, I think. And sometimes we can hear things that aren't actually there, or we can not hear things that we think are there because we might be seeing something that we think is something else. The way that we can get around that is using a less visual EQ that just has knobs, basically. I don't really want to call this type of EQ any name, because this is just a digital EQ that has knobs. I think that advertisers are going to swindle you really by calling it a specific type of EQ. Let's take a look here first though. And here's a few tips when you're approaching your mix. I don't want you to think about mud. That's one word I hate. I really, really do not like it. Mud to me is a nasty word. That's, unless you're playing in it and you're 5 or 30, then mud isn't a good thing really to be calling your mixes. Another one is boxiness. We can use that as a describing word, but it isn't always something we need to fix. And also harshness as well. I think harshness is quite a nice one because it's open-ended. I quite like harsh. Boxy, I'm a little bit, and mud, no, because when we talk about muddiness, what we're talking about is a crowded mid-range. Okay, and muddiness just sounds like it's dirty and whatnot, and that's not always the case. Okay, so Now we've got that out of the way, what I want to focus on is filtering. Filtering is 90% of your EQ journey, okay? And when I talk about EQ, I talk about a high pass, which lets the highs through, and a low pass, which lets the lows through. These two types of EQ moves are what I do in every single track. Never mind mix. Every single track I have will have some kind of filtering in it. And filtering is just a natural part of EQ. And you can see in this EQ we have in the middle nodes. And these nodes are nicely placed around frequency ranges that we think, in this case Logic thinks, that we will need. I don't necessarily use a lot of them. I just try to tame what I hear is getting in the way. Yeah, let's take a little listen. I'm going to close this to this violin sound. We'll just hear what's going on. Okay, so I can hear there's a lot of room sound. There's lots of information from just the sound of the instrument as well, vibrating. There's whispery, whistly kind of sounds that's coming from the bow. And then there is some high-end stuff that's maybe a little bit piercing to my ear. So those are the things that I'm picking up on, and I want to kind of tame. I don't want to get rid of them, but I want to tame them. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to this high pass filter. And in this high pass filter, we have the hertz, we have 12 dB per octave, or the decibel per octave, and then we have the node size. Now, we're not going to really focus on the nodiness of this, but we are going to focus on the frequency and the dB per octave. So if we were to say 6 dB per octave, it's a gentle slope. That's going to be more natural of a sound. But then if we go to the opposite end of the scale, 48 dB per octave, it's a very harsh slope. That's going to be giving us more of like a brick wall that the frequency is going to be hitting. And really, we don't want that for all things. We do want it for some things, but for this, we definitely don't. So I'm going to turn this up here so we can actually see the frequencies a little bit clearer. What's there? You can see there's low stuff here. It's probably from the room. The violin sound kind of starts around about 300 dB there, I think. Hertz, sorry. dB. Okay, so there we can bring this up. And I'm just going to take a little bit of a listen to where this sounds most natural. There. So 18 dB per octave works quite well on this very high violin sound. So now let's go on to the other side, because it's a little bit piercing on the top, isn't it? And we're going to bring this down until we hear it start to work, and then we'll work with the dB per octave as well. Okay, so it's working there. Probably taking a little bit too much out. There we go. I'll just pull it back a little bit. Okay, I think it sounds quite natural there, but I'm going to pull it back even more just to be safe. And then what we'll do is we'll take one of our nodes. We're going to pull it up so we can hear the frequency. That is a little bit more piercing to our ears. I'm thinking that it's going to be about 5K. So we'll have a little bit of a look around there, and okay, I think we got two. So there's one here around 5K. So I'll bring that down. If I bring it all the way down, you can hear we've lost a little bit of the clarity of the... I'll bring it down a little bit there. So I'll bring it down to about 3 dB, which is a lot, but it's not a huge amount on a solo instrument. Okay, if that was on a mix bus or a master bus, then I probably would have been a little bit more lenient, but it doesn't matter. If it sounds good, it sounds good. Okay, found that other one, 3K. Probably about 5 dB on that, I think. Yeah. Yeah. And they're about 800 hertz. A bit loud. I'm gonna make this one a bit wider as well. There we go. And now we're going to A-B it. This is it before. This is it now. Let's add the Valhalla reverb in. It's very nice. Okay, and let's put it in the mix. That's very nice. I would probably say that this needs to be brought up maybe 1 dB or 2, and that's because what we've done essentially is we've taken out a load of information there, so we made it quieter. So let's put it up by 1 dB. Okay, I think that sounded really nice, really rounded, and yeah, it's a really nice way to work, and we could actually get the same type of results from the Sheps Omni channel. We're just going to take a little bit of a listen to it, probably take the Valhalla off as well, and we'll do the same thing. Okay, so I'll enable that EQ. Okay, now let's A-B them. What sounds better? So we'll start with the channel EQ and we'll move to the Sheps. Okay, so I think actually I quite prefer the Sheps because it's a It's got everything I need. It's a little bit more wispy, I think, in the top end, which is quite nice. Just considering that we just listened, I did what I felt like the track needed, and I was able to do that because what I was doing is I was just focusing on the sound. Okay, so that's something that I think that is very, very good about these types of EQs. The channel EQ though sounded more surgical, and for some things that's really, really good, but again, relying on eyes. Yeah, so we can hear there that relying on our eyes sometimes isn't the best thing to do. However, I do think that it is needed for some applications, especially that when there are specific frequencies that maybe we're hearing that we can't quite pinpoint with an EQ that just has knobs. Okay, so I hope that was really useful for you. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. See what I did there? Reverse psychology. I could tell I've gone to university, but I did music. Oh. Maybe it was the right choice. Maybe it was the wrong choice. Who knows? Who knows? Okay, so thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. You will be there, won't you? Okay, so yeah, thank you so much.